Director Justin Baldoni is now suing his former co-star Blake Lively and her husband Ryan.
I mean, honestly, the way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me.
He was, you know, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, you know, if I lost you and I, you know, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I.
Megyn Kelly didn't hold back. She stared directly into the camera and tore apart the carefully built image of Hollywood's most adored blonde. The claims weren't only about ego, they were about a complete takeover of a multi-million-dollar production. According to Kelly's detailed investigation, Blake Lively didn't just perform in her latest film. She allegedly seized the entire project, rewriting scenes and demanding her own cut. Industry insiders were shocked because this wasn't the relatable girl next door we watched on Instagram. This was a ruthless tactician playing a high-stakes game of power that was finally catching up to her. The silence from the Lively camp was deafening as the first truth bombshells began to explode across the internet.
Rewriting scenes, all of which is very irregular for the co-star. That's what the producer does, maybe a director, certainly a writer, none of which.
She was such a brat that she wanted to control every scene, wanted to see all the dailies, wanted to do her own cut and did her own cut of the movie. All this is very.
The spark for this sudden collapse was a shocking divide with her director and co-star Justin Baldoni. What should have been a victorious press tour for their major film quickly turned into a cold war unfolding across headlines. Reports started circulating about a legal battle forming behind the scenes, with whispers that Baldoni was being pushed aside from his own project. While the public watched a star promoting a story of resilience, the industry witnessed a power struggle of enormous scale. Claims emerged that Blake and her husband Ryan Reynolds had effectively staged a takeover on the production, demanding creative revisions that completely reshaped the director's original vision without his full consent.
Harassment are complete BS. Here's what really happened. Released their actual texts, putting things like, he watched me breastfeed naked.
And he's like, I mean, I've got a.
Megyn Kelly's investigation went deep into the details of the on-set conflict, revealing that Blake's conduct was described by some as that of a complete diva. She reportedly demanded access to all the dailies, insisted on creating her own cut of the film, and even brought in personal writers to revise the script. This degree of involvement is almost unheard of for a co-star who is not officially the director or lead producer. It pointed to a level of entitlement that left the crew feeling disconnected and frustrated. The image of the hard-working, humble actress was being replaced by a much darker portrait of a woman unwilling to follow the industry's rules and treating a collaborative art form like her own kingdom.
And I was like, oh really? Because I just have one on my list.
The legal trouble did not end with set rumors. A major lawsuit surfaced involving a former business partner who alleged Blake had violated key contracts and failed to fulfill major agreements. These were not simple disputes. They were accusations of serious financial misconduct. The lawsuit claimed she had used her power and influence to benefit herself while leaving her collaborators to deal with the fallout of failed ventures. For a woman who built her public image on honesty and authenticity, these legal filings became a crushing blow. They painted the portrait of a sharp and at times ruthless businesswoman who placed her financial interests above everything else, regardless of the professional cost to others. Kelly highlighted that Blake was allegedly so difficult that she wanted to control every single scene. She wanted to see every piece of raw footage and did her own edit of the movie, which is described as very irregular for a co-star. That is the job of a producer, a director, or a writer, none of which she was officially appointed to be for the entire process. Megyn Kelly used the term brat to describe this need for total dominance over the project. This wasn't just about creative input. It was about erasing the director's footprint to ensure her own vision was the only one that survived. The industry was watching a masterclass in behind-the-scenes manipulation that was finally being brought to light. This was not the first time stories about Blake's controlling personality had surfaced. Longtime followers of Hollywood gossip pointed back to her years on the set of Gossip Girl. While she was the face of the show, insiders from production claimed she was far more than just part of the ensemble. She was allegedly the one calling the shots behind closed doors. Sources allege she influenced everything from her character's storylines to deciding which of her co-stars received the most screen time. When she moved into film, she reportedly distanced herself from the show so fully that she refused to even mention it in interviews, leaving former castmates behind as she climbed to a higher level of fame. Then there is the curious story of the sisterhood of the traveling pants. For years, the four lead actresses projected a friendship that seemed unbreakable, often appearing on each other's social media pages. But as Blake's fame rose, the cracks in that friendship became impossible to miss. Rumors started spreading that she had intentionally distanced herself from old friends to align more closely with Hollywood's elite. It was seen as a calculated effort to leave behind her teen idol image and reinvent herself as a polished mogul. While her former co-stars stayed loyal to their roots, Blake was busy building a PR empire with Ryan Reynolds, transforming their marriage into a highly profitable brand. The strangest detail to come from the recent controversy involved a series of highly uncomfortable moments on set. One particular exchange allegedly involved Blake making a breastfeeding remark to her co-star that left everyone in stunned silence. According to reports, she allegedly asked if he wanted to watch her breastfeed, a comment she later brushed off as a joke, but insiders say it added to a toxic and unusual work environment. Megyn Kelly pointed to this as a clear example of the behavior that defined the production. It was not only professional tension, it was a repeated pattern of conduct that many believe crossed the boundary of basic workplace professionalism and exposed deep fractures. Megyn Kelly's reporting suggests that Blake's marriage is one of the most carefully managed relationships in Hollywood history. Every joke, every playful online jab, and every red carpet moment is allegedly part of a broader plan to preserve their status as the industry's golden couple. This curation turned their private lives into a marketable asset, but as the lawsuit and set drama surfaced, people began questioning how much of that perfect marriage was real and how much was a performance designed to protect them from criticism. The more flawless the image looked, the more suspicious the public became about what was hidden behind the curtain. Their united front was starting to look like a shield. As these stories gained momentum, the media frenzy reached a breaking point. Publications that once praised Blake for her elegance began questioning how the industry ignored these warning signs for so long. TMZ released insider reports from sources finally willing to speak, revealing a long history of backstage maneuvering dating back years. Vanity Fair published a deep report into the Blake Lively paradox, exploring how she stayed scandal-free for so long, despite growing tension behind the scenes. The narrative shifted quickly, and for the first time in her career, Blake was losing control of the story she had carefully shaped. The public was no longer buying the polished version she offered. Social media became the center of the battle for the actress's image. TikTok investigators and Twitter threads examined old interviews, searching for signs of the behavior Megyn Kelly had highlighted. They found moments where Blake appeared dismissive toward reporters, and scenes where she seemed to subtly insult her co-stars. What had once been viewed as witty charm was now being reframed as arrogance. The same qualities that once made her a star were now being turned against her. Fans who once defended her every move began expressing disappointment, feeling that the girl next door they admired had been nothing more than a carefully built persona crafted by a skilled and distant manipulator. The effect on her career was immediate and impossible to ignore. Major luxury brands that had used her image for years quietly started pulling back campaigns. Rumors spread that a top fashion house removed her from an upcoming ad cycle without any public statement, fearing the controversy could damage their own reputation. Studios that once rushed to cast her were reportedly rethinking their plans, worried about the drama she allegedly carried into every project. She was becoming a liability in an industry built on stability and positive attention. The Golden Girl was losing her shine, and the consequences were spreading across every area of her professional life, from fashion to feature films. Through the entire controversy, Blake remained silent. She did not release a PR statement, she did not post vague photos, and she did not sit for a damage control interview. This silence became a risk. Some saw it as strength, a refusal to entertain baseless claims, while others saw it as guilt, or a quiet acceptance that there was no way to deny the stories coming out. By remaining silent, she allowed the speculation to grow unchecked, turning what could have stayed contained into a wildfire. The longer the silence lasted, the more the public filled in the gaps with their own ideas about her real character and her future in Hollywood. The mystery was no longer working in her favor. Megyn Kelly's investigation also revisited Blake's period during the film Savages, directed by Oliver Stone. Reports emerged of strong tension between Blake and the legendary director. Some claim she pushed for even more control over her role in that film, clashing with the cast because of her growing fame. It seemed that wherever she went, conflict followed. This was not just a single incident on one set. It had become a repeated pattern throughout her career. Nearly every project seemed to involve a struggle for power, where Blake attempted to position herself as more than just an actress, often at the cost of a production's harmony and the director's original creative control. The change in public perception reflects a bigger shift in how society now views celebrities. In the past, stars like Blake could preserve an air of mystery and flawless perfection, but in the age of social media and non-stop news cycles, that image has become impossible to maintain. Audiences now demand truth and accountability more than ever before, making every hidden crack in a celebrity's carefully crafted image impossible to ignore once it begins to break apart in public view. For everyone watching closely, transparency and raw honesty now define what audiences expect. When a star works hard to preserve a flawless image, any visible crack becomes magnified tenfold by the disappointed public. Blake's fall from grace stands as a perfect example of what happens when a carefully curated image collides with the demand for authenticity. The very quality that made her famous, her apparent perfection, also made her vulnerable to this kind of public unraveling. Industry insiders say the conflict with Justin Baldoni was the breaking point. He reportedly believed his creative vision was being pushed aside by a star who felt her personal brand mattered more than the story they were creating together. The fact that Megyn Kelly, a journalist known for her investigative precision, focused on the story gave it a level of credibility that ordinary tabloid gossip rarely holds for the general audience. This was not just another celebrity feud built on rumors, it became a deeper examination of how influence is used in modern Hollywood. It raised serious questions about the ethics of star power and the lengths an actress will go to maintain authority over a production. As the details of the lawsuit continued unfolding, it became clear that the financial consequences were just as serious as the emotional damage. Collaborators claimed Blake's involvement caused delays and budget increases that reportedly cost the production millions. There were also rumors of broken business relationships, where she allegedly stepped away from agreements after getting what she wanted from the other party. This image of a cold, strategic business operator stood in sharp contrast to the woman posting baking pictures and playful jokes about her husband on Instagram. It suggested that the Blake Lively the public recognized was not entirely real, but a carefully managed product created to hide a far more complicated and perhaps colder truth. Ryan Reynolds' role in this story cannot be ignored. As one half of Hollywood's most influential couple, he has long helped shape their shared public image. Insiders claim the pair functions almost like a top-tier PR company, carefully planning each move for maximum positive attention. But even his charm could not stop the damage once the court statement surfaced. Their efforts to maintain a united image were seen by many as a desperate attempt to preserve their brand. It became proof that even Hollywood's strongest players are still vulnerable to public judgment when uncomfortable truths begin surfacing. The Sisterhood cast members have remained noticeably silent during this controversy, and many believe that silence speaks loudly. In an industry where friends often rush to defend one another during scandals, the absence of support from her oldest co-stars is striking. It gives strength to the long-running rumors that Blake had burned those bridges years earlier while climbing the ladder of fame. The isolation of Hollywood's Golden Girl is now obvious. If the people who knew her best at the beginning of her career are unwilling to support her now, it suggests the claims about her distancing herself or being difficult may hold real truth. Megyn Kelly's reporting has changed the discussion around celebrity accountability in a major way. It is no longer enough to simply be charming and attractive. Stars are now being judged on professional conduct in ways they often escaped before. The era of the difficult genius or spoiled star is fading as producers and casting directors become less willing to tolerate chaos. Blake Lively may simply be the latest and perhaps most surprising example of this massive cultural shift in the entertainment world. Her story acts as a warning to other major celebrities that what happens behind closed doors can and often will come into public view. No matter how carefully the story is managed or how many experts are hired to shape perception, the truth has a way of leaking out. There is also the issue of what this means for Blake's future roles in Hollywood. Being labeled difficult can destroy a career, no matter how talented or successful someone may be. Directors want collaborators, not competitors, and producers want to avoid the financial and legal complications that can come with stars demanding complete control. Many filmmakers may now choose to avoid the complication entirely. Can Blake Lively recover from this? In the past, she has shown the ability to survive smaller controversies and rebuild her image, but this situation feels very different. The combination of a major legal fight, an investigation from a well-known journalist, and a growing public backlash creates a three-sided threat few celebrities can survive untouched. To rebuild her reputation, she would likely need to let go of the perfection that made her famous and accept a level of openness and vulnerability she has spent years avoiding. Whether she is capable of that shift remains uncertain, but the version of Blake Lively the public once knew may be gone permanently, replaced by a new reality. In the end, Blake Lively's story serves as a powerful reminder that in today's world, no amount of beauty, fame, or influence can protect anyone from the truth. The entertainment industry is now watching closely to see whether she can reinvent herself again, or whether the damage to her public image has become permanent. As Megyn Kelly's investigation continues, revealing more layers of Hollywood's former golden girl, one question still remains. How many other stars are hiding behind the same wall of perfection? The age of the untouchable celebrity has ended, replaced by a growing demand for honesty and accountability. The spotlight has never been more intense, and the public is ready to question everything.